Hi, my friends. Today I want to present you a new story. Enjoy watching it.
When I was little, I used to stand in the hallway of our house and stare at the family portrait that hung just above the oak console table. There we were, my parents, Marcus, and me. But if you looked closely, I wasn't quite in the center. I was always slightly off to the side, like someone who had accidentally wandered into the frame, and no one bothered to crop out. It's strange what a child notices. I remember the night that picture was taken. I was 10. I had just won a local art contest, my first real achievement. I held the ribbon in my hand, excited to tell everyone. But when I rushed into the kitchen, cheeks glowing, I found my parents in celebration already. Marcus had scored 3 goals in a school soccer match. There was cake, balloons, my ribbon slipped from my fingers to the tile floor, unnoticed. "Sweetheart, go wash your hands," my mother said, without even glancing at me. "We're about to take the photo. You look shiny." That's what I became in our family, shiny but invisible. Now, at 34, with dirt under my fingernails from laying out client garden plans, I can still feel that wallpaper frame closing in on me. Even now, years later, my parents' obsession with appearances hasn't dulled. They live in a house that smells like lemons and ambition, each surface gleaming like it's afraid to disappoint. Dad is a retired cardiologist. Mother, Felicity, is the kind of woman who insists on full makeup before answering the door. And Marcus is still their golden boy. He started a chain of home improvement stores, got on a few talk shows, and now apparently believes the world rotates at his command. The last time I saw them before the surgery, before everything, I had invited them over for Harissa's 7th birthday. I thought maybe this time they'd stay longer than half an hour. They didn't. Pearl, my mother had sighed, walking through the house like it smelled wrong. "You should consider repainting. The walls are such a dull gray. It affects mood, you know. And Haris, he looks thin. Is he eating enough?" "He's fine, Mom," I had replied, gripping the back of the kitchen chair. "He's healthy, active, doing well in school." While she sniffed, Marcus's twins are already playing piano and fencing. I said nothing. She didn't notice the cake I had baked from scratch, or that Haris had drew a picture of the family with colored pencils and crayon and waited on the porch for her for 20 minutes. She never looked at the drawing. But I still remember how he looked up at me after they left, wide-eyed, a little confused. "Grandma doesn't like drawings," he asked. I had knelt beside him, brushed his cheek. "She just doesn't understand how special it is." If only I had known then what was coming. That within a few months, I'd be standing outside that mansion of theirs in a black coat with tear-soaked sleeves, begging for money. But that day hadn't come yet. Not when I still thought maybe, just maybe, they'd learn to see me as more than the girl they kept just barely inside the frame. It began with the sound of coughing, not the soft throat-clearing kind, but deep, ragged, and wet. I jolted awake in the dark, heart already pounding. Arisa's bedroom door was slightly ajar. I rushed in, calling his name. He was burning up. His skin was flushed, damp with sweat. He clutched his stomach and whimpered, "Mommy, it hurts." I scooped him into my arms, his body frighteningly limp. "Oliver," I shouted. My husband stumbled in from the hallway, hair tousled, phone in hand. "We're going now. Get the keys." The emergency room lights burned sterile white. I held Haris close, fingers trembling as we filled out the form. His fever was very high. Within minutes, they wheeled him away for tests. Hours passed in a fluorescent blur. A doctor with tired eyes returned near dawn. "Mrs. Atwood," she said gently, "your son has a rare intestinal condition. We need to operate immediately. The longer we wait, the greater the risk of organ damage. The surgery and post-op care will cost around $79,900. My breath caught. "We don't have that kind of money. We're between insurance plans. My firm just switched policies and coverage hasn't kicked in." The doctor's expression didn't shift. "We can delay by stabilizing him temporarily, but you don't have much time." I turned to Oliver. "We'll figure it out. We have to." He nodded, jaw clenched. "We have savings," he said, voice low. "Maybe 10 grand. My truck, your laptop, wedding bands, it's not enough." By the time we left the hospital, the morning sun was breaking through gray clouds. I looked at the world like it was unfamiliar. Cars passed. A bird sang from a tree. Somewhere, people were sipping coffee, folding laundry. Oliver squeezed my hand. Maybe your parents." I swallowed hard. They won't help. But it's their grandson, Pearl. I looked at him. They didn't even stay for his birthday cake. Still that evening, I stood in front of my parents' mansion, dressed in my best coat. The manicured garden was littered with rose petals from some over-the-top anniversary theme. My mother opened the door, wearing a sequin dress and holding a champagne flute. Music thumped faintly from inside. Pearl? What on earth? Didn't you RSVP? Mom, please. It's Haris. He needs surgery. It's urgent. She pulled the door tighter. Now? You came out? Her voice was sharp. Marcus appeared behind her, sipping wine. What's going on? Haris is sick. We need $79,900. I know it's a lot, but I wouldn't ask if. He raised his brows, then scoffed. Haris is your son, not our responsibility. He's your responsibility. I'm your sister, Marcus. He shrugged. And? Tears welled in my eyes. Please, he could die. My mother sighed. We're hosting 130 guests tonight. This really isn't the time, darling. I stared at them, polished, perfect, empty. Then the door shut in my face, and the petals from their celebration blew down the marble steps like confetti at a funeral. We began with Oliver's truck, a red 2013 Chevy, scratched on one side, but still his pride. He posted it online that night. Within hours, it was gone for $4,200. Next, I listed my design laptop, my lifeline, the one I built the firm on. A buyer picked it up the next morning. You sure about this? He asked, eyeing me warily. No, I whispered. But my son needs to live. We sold our wedding rings next, mine with a tiny diamond. Oliver's still engraved. Forever, no matter what. Maybe this is what forever really means, Oliver said, forcing a smile. I couldn't speak. Friends brought groceries. Strangers donated after hearing our story through an online fundraiser Oliver's sister had started. A retired client of mine, Mrs. Langley, sent $10,000 with a card that read, Real families show up even if we're not blood. Oliver's parents sold their home. We'll rent. Don't worry about us, his mother said, her eyes wet. Harris is our world too. Each dollar was a tear, a prayer, a sacrifice. By day 5, we had $78,300. Still short. The hospital called that evening. You have until 8 a.m. tomorrow, the surgeon warned. Any later, and it's too risky. I stared at the screen. A new donation had just arrived. $1,600 from a woman named Eva. Caption, my child died because I didn't have help. Please save yours. The total turned green. $79,900. I dropped to my knees sobbing. Haris would live. 4 springs had passed. Haris, now 11, was running across our garden in a school medal t-shirt that read Science Star. My firm had just landed $1 million park redesign. Life finally was warm. Then the phone rang. Pearl, my father's voice cracked, something I'd never heard. Marcus, he's ruined us. I said nothing. His company was fake, he confessed. A Ponzi scheme. Everything's gone. Our savings, the house. We co-signed his loans. The silence between us buzzed louder than any scream. We need help, he said softly. Just a loan. Please. A flash, Marcus laughing at Haris's illness, my mother brushing past me in her silk dress. You told me Haris wasn't your responsibility, I replied calmly. Now you expect me to save you? Pearl, we were wrong. No, I cut in. You weren't wrong. You were heartless. There's a difference. I ended the call. Oliver glanced up from the patio. What's that? They've lost everything, I said, and they want me to fix it. Oliver didn't flinch. Are you going to? I looked at Haris through the window. He was watering a sunflower, beaming. No, I said. Let the Prince of Lies clean up his own ashes. 2 weeks later, the studio bell chimed. I looked up and froze. My parents stood in the doorway, smaller than I remembered, shadows of the people who once towered over me. Between them stood Marcus, hollow-eyed, no designer suit, just a wrinkled polo and shame. We came to say, we were wrong, my mother whispered. Her mascara smudged. We failed you. We failed Haris. Marcus shifted. I mocked you when you begged. I thought money made a man. I was wrong. I didn't offer them chairs. Instead, I reached into the drawer and pulled out a small frame. It was a photo of Horace holding his science medal, laughing, sunlight in his curls. Below it, he had written, "My mom is my hero." I placed it on the counter between us. "I don't need your apologies," I said. "I needed your love then." Horace needed grandparents. Instead, we had help from strangers us when our blood didn't. Tears streaked down my mother's face. My father lowered his gaze. Marcus swallowed hard. "I help families now," I added. "Children like Horace. That's the legacy I built from your silence." I opened the door. "Goodbye," I said gently. "Let this be the part of the story where you walk away, and I keep blooming." As they stepped out, I closed the door, knelt down beside Horace, and whispered, "Honey, know that I will always come to your rescue, under any circumstances, because I love you, sweetie," and tears came to my eyes.
Friends, what do you think of this story? Write your opinion in the comments. Would you like more stories? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button so you don't miss any videos. See you tomorrow.